It is presentation anyway. We signed the consent agenda. Councillor Grelnick's not here.
Oh, he's not here either?
No, Councillor Grelnick is not here today.
Okay,
No,
okay,
his mom passed away on Saturday, right? You guys knew that?
yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know he wasn't coming, though.
No, I told the mayor he wasn't coming.
Okay, so how,
I will stay
So you have
presentation. I'll
7.
say
You have 8.
basically.
So you're always looking for the number 8.
thanks.
Except with conflicts of interest. Then you're looking for less numbers. Oh, your microphone is on.
Hello? Can't hear. I can hear now, yes.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 29th Executive Committee meeting and remind everyone that we recognize that Prince Albert is located within Treaty 6 territory and is the homeland of the Dakota and Métis. We extend our respect to all Indigenous people for their valuable past and present contributions and recognize and respect the cultural diversity within the City of Prince Albert. Call this meeting to order. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Go ahead, Councillor Miller.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The vote is now open. Councillor Head,
In favor.
Councillor Lennox Zepp,
In favor.
thank you. And the vote carries. The next item is declaration of conflict of interest.
Tara Lennox Zepp.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox Zepp.
I declare conflict on item 7.1 as my spouse is the representative for QP 160 and currently representative for 882.
Thank you. Any others? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, adoption of the minutes. Who's willing to move the adoption of the minutes? Thank you.
I'll move
Councillor
those
Solomon.
minutes.
Thank you. The vote is now open. Councillor Head,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Councillor Lennox Zepp,
In favor.
and carries. Thank you. Next item is delegations. We'd like to welcome 5.1, concerns regarding the Prince Albert Historical Society funding and adherence to the 2009 Memorandum of Understanding. And there's a verbal presentation by Michael Gange, the Vice President of the Prince Albert Historical Society. Just one moment, I will.
Are we good?
We are very good.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
You very much. So as she said, my name is Michael Gange, and I'm here on behalf of the Prince Albert Historical Society. And I appreciate the opportunity to address you in a matter that's significantly important to our culture in our community. A little backstory, I've always believed that every organization, but especially volunteer ones, have what I call corporate memory. Because as the volunteers change over the years, we sort of lose and forget things that we should know, right? And I suspect the same thing can happen with elected bodies, because this memorandum I'm discussing is from 2009. And I don't know how many of us in this room were here in 2009, right? So it's not, there's no fault, it's just things get forgotten. So in the 2 months since I was here for the external agencies review, I became aware of this 2009 Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Prince Albert and the Prince Albert Historical Society. And this MOU outlines the agreed upon funding for the society and to run the museums. And it's a reminder of the shared commitment we made together to uphold and support the vibrancy of our cultural institutions. So I want to emphasize my intention is not to assign blame or fault. Over time, organizations like individuals can overlook certain agreements, and I believe it's essential for us to work collaboratively to address the situation. Our museums are more than just repositories of artifacts, and they're living embodiments of our shared history, education, and cultural identity. Adequate funding ensures their ability to thrive, contributing to the vibrancy and uniqueness of our community. Upon reading the MOU, it's come to my attention that our current funding levels from the city don't align with the stipulations outlined. And this discrepancy, while unintentional, is significant and impacts the ability of the museums to fulfill our vital role in the community. So I would request that the city reevaluate our current funding allocation to ensure it aligns with the commitments made in the Memorandum of Understanding. Doing so will not only honor our past agreements, but also demonstrate our ongoing dedication to cultural enrichment and educational opportunities that our museums provide. I do understand that budgetary considerations are complex, and there may be challenges in adjusting funding levels. Nevertheless, I believe that investing in our museums is an investment in our community's identity and future, and I'm confident that through open dialogue, we can find a solution that meets the needs of both these cultural institutions and our city's fiscal responsibilities. So I provided the information package to your staff, but I have more copies here if you like, that outlines the points from the MOU that we feel aren't being met, as well as a copy of the costs outlined of our museum curator manager. So thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working together to ensure this all works out great and that our museums continue to thrive and contribute to the cultural richness of Prince Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Gange. Are there any questions for our speaker? Councillor Miller.
I don't know if it's so much for the speaker or for administration, and I'd like to thank you for bringing this up, because in 2009 it was my first year, and this was a couple of months before my time. And I guess it's really important that we keep up to those MOUs, and I think it's probably time for a new one. And I guess a question for administration is, how long is an MOU good for? I don't know who can
Is your
answer.
question directed to Director of Planning or Corporate, probably Community Services? It's Community
Sure.
Services?
Yeah. Somebody take a hit at that?
And he is away?
She's directing to whoever might have the answer.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My understanding, and I will stand to be corrected, but an MOU is good until it's actually reviewed once again and new criteria put in place. So speaking with Director of Community Services, who can't be here tonight, he's indicated that taking this information, certainly reviewing it within our department, this is a good time to do that, and he'll be able to communicate back what his thoughts are on this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for our presenter?
Deputy Mayor, if I could, I don't have a
Oh,
question.
just 1 second, please. You're in the queue. First, the mayor.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I always like it when we bring back things from 2009, because we might have also, in some areas, overpaid you. So, we might get some funding back in this tough budget year. But I'm glad you brought it forward. I'm going to move the item, that it goes and it get reviewed. But I also do agree that it's 2024, and it's time that we also instruct our staff to look at the agreement with yourselves and make it more modern.
Renew it, yes.
And renew it. And it probably needs updated wording and just renew it. So Thank you very much. It's an important part, as you said, of our community. If you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going.
I agree.
And I tell people that, that's why history is so important. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I guess that question, and thank you to the presenter for bringing this information and to bringing, highlighting this issue as well. I guess question to the mover of the motion, by simply sending it to the Financial Services Department, will we be honoring their ask of $74,005.80, which is an addition of $2,925.80 from what was budgeted this year? My hopes are we could, yes, renew that contract, sit down with the parties and renew that contract to reflect current dates. But also, I think the ask today is to provide them with the additional funding, which would be my preference today. So I don't know if this motion to the mover is capturing that, or simply just saying go renegotiate. So I guess more of a question of clarification.
Thank you. Mayor Dion.
To my colleague, no, I referred it, the motion is referred to both to Financial Services and Community Services for a review. If you remember, we've already went through our budget. We've approved our budget. All that we have left is the tax tools, and we treated everyone the same in the budget. So I like the process that we're going through now, and we will review it and bring back recommendations to council. But it's important that both parties sit together, just not us, but both parties sit together and go through the agreement.
Thank you.
If I could, yeah.
Just one moment, please. Just clarification. Are there any more questions for our presenter? Okay, hearing none, I thank you, Mr. Ganj, and we will continue.
Thank you very much.
Discussion. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you. I'll speak in favor of the motion as it currently stands. As it goes back to financial services and community services, my thought is that the MOU is 15 years old. It may not reflect the current relationship, and there may be things that need to be put in there. If we were to cap it at the 15-year limit from 2009, it may not address today's priorities. So although we may have to look at this further down the line this year, it may be more reflective of the relationship that we now have with the museum, and I think that's the better direction to go. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Again, you know, I feel like that motion today is going to fall flat because I think the ask is to provide the extra funding. My worries are if we do send it forward to the administration that they're not going to get the money this year, which I think that's kind of the area that they're looking at. You know, I'm sure we can find $2,900.25 additional for that. So, I mean, I am supporting the motion. I do think we need to update this contract, but I also think we need to honor what we negotiated or agreed to, which is providing the additional funding that they're there today to ask for.
Thank you, Councillor Head. Any others?
Tara Lennox-Zapp.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox-Zapp.
Thank you. Question for the mover. Would the mover consider having this report after it's reviewed to come back to council for a decision at council?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, when I did my talk, I just said, once they review it in the financials, they'll come back to us with the final results, because they can't do it without council. All we're asking them is for information. And so they'll review it, meet with the museum, so that most parties understand it, then they'll come back to us. And in response to Councillor Head, whether to get the money this year or not, that's to say, but we're just the first part of February. So I'm quite sure it's not going to take 11 months to figure out.
Question for the acting director. Acting Director, do you require in a motion like this to state that it will be returned to council, or you just hear that verbally and you don't need that?
Just one moment, please. I think your question is to the city clerk.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, city clerk. Will it come back as a report, the way the motion is?
Currently, the way the motion is written, it will just go to each of those departments for review. If they determine that a report is warranted, then they will be bringing that forward for City Council's approval.
If I
And then
may,
just
If I may interject, I'm feeling that they're asking for and report. Thank you. Is that correct, Councillor Lennox?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Dion.
I will put in that they report back to us, even though that could delay them, Councillor Head, getting the money. I'll request that they report back to us with the final decision for our approval.
Thank you. Just one moment. Well, so you're changing the motion to reflect that?
Just to report back to council.
For review and report to council. And report. Thank you. Any others? Here-
May I just, sorry.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox.
If I may, I just wanted to thank Mr. Grange for attending and bringing this topic to us. And it is important, and it is a partnership here with our city. So I look forward to hearing what comes of this. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a motion on the floor. And the vote is now open. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, in favor.
Councillor Lennox Zepp?
In favor.
Thank you. Motion carries. And I'd like to echo what Councillor Lennox Zepp on behalf of the Executive Committee. Thank you very much, Mr. Gange, for presenting. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. What is the Executive Committee's? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move the motion if nobody has anything.
Not hearing anything?
If I could, yes. No, I did want to raise 6.1, I guess, just for discussion, I guess. I see the motion is to go into financial services, so I do have one movement. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
No worries. Any other items to be pulled from consent? 6.1. Any others? Hearing none, Councillor, oh. Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, in the absence of Councillor Brodnick, I'm going to pull 6.3.
Thank you.
So it's a receive and file.
Okay,
Yep.
there's motion on the floor. Councillor Head?
In favor.
And Councillor Lennox Zepp.
In favor.
Thank you. Motion carries. The first item pulled is item number 6.1, tax abatement request for 336 16th Street West, and by Councillor Head. Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess my question more so was that the recommendation just says refer to financial services. The request is, I believe, asking us to forego some monies here. I guess that was kind of my question. I wasn't able to reach out to Mr. and Mrs. Bueller to have some conversation to get a little bit more detail on what they're asking of council. So I thought that the ask is a little bit vague, and or the direction where we're going with this is vague. So could I get an answer of where and what we're going to do with this? What financial services are going to do to this this correspondence?
Go ahead, City Manager.
So the suggested disposition is refer it to financial services. When items are on the agenda that indicate suggested disposition for refer to a department, it means that they will review it based on policy and will deal with it based on policy. If you want something other than that, then you would have to make a motion to that effect. So that is what refer to a department actually means, is they will deal with it based on the existing policy that council approved, or agreement, or those types of things.
Thank you, City
Thank you.
Manager.
Yes, thank you. I guess, and that's kind of my fears is that we're going to send a letter saying, no, I think we need to, well, I'd like to see a report back. So I guess my motion would be that correspondence received, referred to the Financial Services Department and report back to council.
So you've moved that?
I would like to,
Any,
yes.
sure, certainly. Any other discussion? Seeing none? Oh. Thank you very much. Seeing none, we will move to a vote. Sorry, oh, it's at the end. Just sorry, everyone, it just takes me a bit. Thank you very much. City Clerk had to help me. It is now open to vote. Councillor Head, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, in favor.
Councillor Lennox Epp,
In favor.
and it's carried. Next item on the agenda, item 6.3. Mayor, what would you like?
I'd like to refer this back to the next executive meeting when Councillor, was brought forward by Councillor Brodnick, so I think it's important that he has to say. So I would pull the item and refer it to the next executive committee. There's no time frame on it or anything. So I just move that it goes to the next executive meeting.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing,
If I could, Deputy Mayor, I do have a question.
go ahead, Councillor Head.
And I agree wholeheartedly that this should maybe wait for Councillor Grodnick to attend and speak on it. I know he's very passionate over the years about this, and I too think it's worthy to look at it again. I guess that's my question. Is there any sense from the administration that this will be another grant that's going to be provided for next year again? Because I do think this was very valuable for our city, and I guess is there any indication from the government that they will be providing this grant one more year?
Would it be possible to wait until it is referred to the next executive, or do you want an answer at this moment? Councillor Head.
Yeah, I guess if you can't answer it, then that's fine. We can wait.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The item is up, or will be up, sorry. There it is. Councillor Head.
In favor.
Councillor Lennox Epp.
In favor.
Thank you, and it carries. Next, we move to reports of administration and committees. Councillor Lennox Epp has removed herself.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to item 7.1, financial implications from the QP 882 labor disruption. Oh, sorry, and
Good, yeah.
sorry, it's a verbal presentation from Brianne Fulmer. I am trying to change this. I will.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here today to speak regarding the analysis performed to determine the total costs and savings in relation to the QP 882 labor disruption that occurred in 2023. We are currently finalizing the city's entire 2023 year end, which involves our annual audit. Therefore, these numbers are unaudited and based on currently available information. The details in this report also speak only to the costs and savings in relation to the labor disruption. They do not factor any other overages or any other underspending the city may have experienced in the year unrelated to that disruption. Upon the completion of the year end, administration will be preparing this information for council to review, which will give the entire picture of the city's 2023 year. So as you will see in the report, on a net basis, the city saved approximately $535,000. This number is made up of the following: salaries, wages, and benefits. So this area resulted in the largest amount of savings at approximately $934,000. So salaries, wages, and benefits are the main cost of the city as a service provider. Therefore, it was expected that this would be the largest savings realized due to a labor disruption. The second item is lost concession revenue. As you are aware, community groups were invited to use the concession at the Arthauser Center as a fundraising initiative. This meant that the city did not receive concession revenue for the labor disruption period, which resulted in just over $123,000 in lost revenue compared to what had been budgeted. The city also hired contractors to assist with the operations. These contractors assisted in areas such as the front counter at City Hall, payroll, bylaw operations, and at city facilities like the E.A. Rawlinson Center, the Alfred Jenkins Fieldhouse, and the Arthauser Center. Overall, this was a cost of just under $200,000. Additional security measures were also taken at a cost of $80,700. This included the installation of security cameras as well as additional security personnel to ensure staff and residents were supported. Finally, about $4,200 was spent on supplies and software that was required. So this primarily related to other managers filling additional roles that required certification, as well as any software requirements for those contractors. As previously stated, the end result is approximately $535,000 in net savings to the city in relation to the CUPE 882 labor disruption. You can expect to see a report detailing all 2023 spending compared to budget this spring. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you for a very well detailed report, and I'll move the recommendation to receive and file.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Thank you. And the vote carries. The next item on the agenda, 7.2, just one moment, please. Okay. The next item on the agenda is 7.2, Transit Review 2023, and a PowerPoint presentation by Evan Hastings, Transportation and Traffic Manager. Welcome and go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. The purpose of this report is to review transit operations in 2023. So 2023 was a year not only of rebound, but of massive growth for the Prince Albert Transit System. To begin the year, we focused on 4 major priorities, and that was to increase service reliability, ensure consistent communication with the public, improve transit accessibility and infrastructure, as well as to improve the functionality of the system. So PA Transit operated 99.4% of all scheduled hours in 2023, which just speaks to the improvement to the reliability of the system and gave the public the trust that they can get to and from where they need to go on a daily basis. In the off chance that there was changes to service, there was updates made very quickly onto the city website as well as Transit Live. And it just shows Transit Live increased in usage to 332,000 uses in 2023. This is approximately 70% of all riders using Transit Live GPS. Another big item was transit funding in 2023, and the provincial and federal funding allowed the city to do a few things that they normally would not be able to do. That includes extended weekday transit hours to 10:15 p.m., and that was so successful that it has been extended until the end of 2024. A Little Red Transit trial, as well as many improvements to accessibility and infrastructure such as new transit benches, shelters, pathways, and transit pads. So here's a few of the pictures. We can see the new benches that were installed. The bottom right were 2 new benches installed at the Victoria Hospital. And about 1 minute after they're installed, the residents already hopped on and were very happy. At the top left, we see a new transit shelter at Carleton. And at the bottom left is a new shelter at Sask Polytech. We got to consult with Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and this is now the busiest stop in the entire city, so it was very well received. The rush hour route is a very important topic for this year because the route was redesigned specifically at the end of 2022 in order to ensure full-time route to Crescent Acres, better routing to Pacey, Carleton, Sask Polytech, and Cornerstone. On June 12th, 2023, the route was extended to be a full-time route until 10:15 p.m. And what we've seen is since then, the ridership has more than tripled. As of today, there's over 500 riders per day, and this is the second busiest route in the entire city. So ridership by month, October 2023, we see a bunch of stars, 59,000 riders access transit in 1 month. Prior to that, the former record was October 2018 with 41,000 riders. The green bars here on this list show that 7 of the 12 months this year actually set the record for all-time high ridership. So that just speaks to how many people are riding the transit system. So in total for 2023, we saw 522,000 riders, and that's a massive increase from the previous high of 399,000 in 2018. One of the biggest reasons for this is student transportation. We now have over 700 monthly transit passes sold to high school and post-secondary students. So many people are now taking the bus, so many students that it began to test the capacity of the transit system in the morning and after school. But due to quick action and quick review, a second East Flat bus was added in order to provide adequate capacity during those times. Here's a list of performance indicators that are reviewed each and every year, just to have a consistent basis to review the efficiency of the bus network. What we can see is the cost to revenue ratio increased by 4% from last year, showing that it's a more efficient service. And we also see over a $250,000 increase to total revenue, which is awesome to see. But it is of note that these indicators are a little lower than they should be due to the loss of the transit advertising revenue in 2022 and increased transit fleet lease costs. Ridership and revenue will increase in 2024 once again. So looking forward to 2024, one of the big projects that we want to accomplish this year is a full system review, which would include a fare review, various forms of public consultation, some of which are already underway, as well as improved route design, which we need to do in order to get people to the new expanding areas of the city. This will also focus on accessibility and connectivity. But for this year, in summary, Prince Albert Transit aims to continue its upward trajectory by providing safe and reliable transportation for all users. Thank you, and at this time I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. The report was very well done. I have a couple of questions. So overall, we're utilizing older buses. Does the public know? Do we know? What's the plan? Are we looking at replacing? Or what are we doing?
That may be best to go to the director.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through to Councillor Edwards' question. You'll recall we did present to council previously. Nothing on that plan has changed. I think part of our review for this year is mainly just to keep the system, able to handle the growth. Eventually, we will be looking towards a longer-term, bus strategy. I would anticipate you'd probably be seeing something from that later on in the year.
Okay. And we currently, the public, I guess we should remind the public that we continue to have a lawsuit against the company that's left us stranded. And here we have, we used taxpayers' money to purchase brand-new buses to make them, to make the riders comfortable and have, a positive bus service. And here we are, because the company abandoned us. And we need to remind people that this is what happened. And it's unfortunate, but here we are. And I don't know what's happening with the lawsuit. I don't know when we're going to see that. But I know that company has our money tied up. And that's not a good thing. I hope we don't move forward with purchasing buses again and look at leasing. I think it's a better option, and hopefully that's in the new strategy because of what occurred. So That's it, I guess, for that. Thank you for your response on what we may see in the near future. Next question would be Little Red, and I probably could have asked it on the Little Red report, but I'm gonna ask it overall. Is there a way for specialty routes to charge a little addition to the fee? I don't know off the top of my head, if you jump on just with some cash, what do we ask a rider to pay at that point, just in town? How much is that fee?
In town, it would vary between $225 a fare and $250 a fare, but that all depends. If most people would have a monthly transit pass, if we wanted to provide additional fees, I suppose, for something like a Little Red route, that would be possible through some planning. It just wouldn't give, I guess it wouldn't give people the additional benefit who purchased the monthly pass to get out there.
But it still would allow a little bit of a discount. If you don't have a fee, or if you don't have a monthly pass, you could pay X amount. If you have a monthly pass, you could pay lower, right? Maybe, is that something that we could,
I think that would be
Think
something to
on?
look into, yeah.
okay. I just hate to see it kind of die. I don't know whether we did it during prime time. What was the Little Red review? It was from September till December, is that what it was?
It was from July to September.
July to September, yeah. And I know when I mentioned it, I don't know, 6 years ago about going to Little Red, it was about bringing skiers and utilizing the ski hill. But we weren't able to do that, so I guess there wasn't a overall fair trial, but anyway, those are my comments, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could, Deputy Mayor.
Right after the next speaker. Go ahead, Mayor.
Receive and file. I want to thank you for the report. I thought it was very detailed. And some of the report is what it is. In talking to some of the parents about transportation out to the Little Red, they wanted to be there, both for safety and if their kid gets hurt, you know, because it is an activity that you could get hurt on. And they didn't feel comfortable just putting them on a bus and sending them out there. So I did expect the report to come back because most of the people that I did go watch, they were sitting in the Cosmo drinking their tea and coffee and watching their kids. And I like that because that's part of the family experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you to the manager of the traffic department, Evan, a very good report. And it gives us a really good snapshot on what our year looked like. One of the major priorities in 2023 you indicated is service reliability, and I think that's always been our goal here. I do see that 99.4% of the scheduled hours were maintained, but there's still some areas where we can always improve in, and I think I flagged that last meeting. But happy to see that, you know, I hear often that a lot of people are relying on it, and these stats show it. You know, we've opened up the hours to allow people to later shifts or to arrive home later, so that's really beneficial to our community and to the residents to have that flexibility to get to work and to appointments. And a lot of people are relying on our bus services. So good to see it. And to Councillor Edwards' point, yes, it's not lost on us about these litigations that we have, I guess, for this. I'm looking forward to that resolve, hopefully sooner than later. One of the biggest things, I guess, one of the questions I do have a question. So, but I am commenting on this report because I do think it is something that we've seen grow exponentially in our city, our bus services. So, a real focus on that in 2024, you know, is important. But what does this public consultation look like? When is it going to happen? Is it going to be a forum where you're going to hear some of the feedback? You know, you talk about route design, and I'm sure that's just going to be maintaining routes or looking at maybe adding another bus to that route. Yeah, and I can't stress enough to that Little Red point. Again, it was mentioned here on this motion. You know, it's something that our families, I know the report says that there wasn't a massive amount of riders, but I can't tell you how much people have benefited or enjoyed that ability to get out of the city, to enjoy some nature and getting to the parks in the summer. So it was very well received. And so thank you for that. And I guess to my questions, public consultation.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. So I've been working with the Department of Communications, and we began with a SurveyMonkey public survey. So we've already had over 350 residents fill that out. We want to get a global kind of landscape of where some people feel that there's some issues and where some people feel there's major wins right now. So we can, you know, if we do ever decide to redesign or tweak up any routes, we can see exactly what impact that'll have. In addition to that, we're also working on some formal in-person consultations. So that would open it up to the community. However, that's still being discussed with the Department of Communications.
Okay, thank you very much, yeah.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Are there any other questions for the speaker?
Sarah Lennox.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox-Epp.
I just wanted to mention what a positive report this is, to see major increase in ridership. The report, I believe, states that 3% of Prince Albert residents have a monthly pass, and really positive, and I really appreciated hearing the data. And I am also hearing from people who ride the bus that they really appreciate those longer hours, as was mentioned in the presentation. Now people can work longer shifts if they wish to. They can get to and from their school or place of business, and so that's really positive. Regarding the Little Red route, I took the route with my family, and it was very enjoyable and a positive experience. And what I've heard people advising me is that I think the report stated we only voted on the Little Red route, I think in June, and then we implemented it in July. And that if we maybe had some more lead time, some more time ahead, that people may have had more time to be prepared for it. And I agree with Councillor Edwards that a winter route would be great. I also agree with the mayor that younger children may not just be sent on the bus by themselves, but there's kind of a gap there where there's an age where you do want people who maybe don't have a driver's license, but younger but not young children, to get out there on their own in the winter. So that would be great to see if that was ever possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I let you go, I too want to express my appreciation for the report and for the amount of work over the past 3 or 4 years when we found ourselves in, I don't want to call it chaos, but a very difficult situation. And so First Bus really stepped up, and the work that you had done to work with that group and provide for our residents is remarkable. And where we are today at 99%, whereas 2 years ago we were canceling, shift, different routes. So very, very good work, and I look forward to the next 2 or 3 years about where our transportation will take us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda. Oh, sorry, I have to vote. Thank you, it just came to me. Okay, the vote is now open. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, in favor.
Councillor Lennox-Epp.
In favor.
And it carries. Thank you very much, everyone. Next item on the agenda is 7.3, Community Grant Accessible Swim Program, a verbal presentation from Tim E. Amon. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. So the report before you tonight is about the Community Accessible Swim Program. And the recommendation before you is that the Community Grant Accessible Swim Program be approved for a trial period during the 2024 Kinsman Water Park season. The purpose of the Community Grant Accessible Program is to financially assist organizations with access to recreational programming. A little bit of background. The City Council received correspondence at the June 19th, 2023 Executive Committee meeting on behalf of the Prince Albert Safe Shelter for Women, requesting a donation of the recreation passes. Upon consideration of the request, the following resolution was approved: that administration provide a report on a proposed policy to provide recreation passes to vulnerable sector organizations. As a result, administration is recommending the Community Grant Accessible Swim Program for a trial period during the 2024 Kinsman Water Park season. This trial will allow organizations to access the Community Grant Accessible Swim Program for funding assistance with passes to the Kinsman Water Park. By having the organizations apply, the proposed program will remain aligned with the Community Grant Program guidelines, which is to assist in the development of sports, culture, and recreation programming by providing funds to nonprofit organizations. For the 2024 Kinsman Water Park season, an organization who assists with the support of a family and individuals would be eligible to apply on behalf of a family or individual within the following procedural guidelines. Number one, the organization would apply to the program during the current application period. Application forms are available on the City of Prince Albert website or from the Sport and Recreation Manager. Organizations would apply for funding by April 15th of this year. The organizations who applied would receive a phone call to confirm approval or denial by May 15th. The pass is deemed active opening day of the Kinsman Water Park. And in the event passes or memberships remain unpaid by June 1st, the Sports and Recreation Manager would reserve the right to cancel the pass and return the funds to the Community Accessible Swim Program. Number two, applications can be submitted for any of the following Kinsman Water Park passes only: the Youth Pass, the Adult Pass, the Family Pass, which is a maximum of 2 adults and 4 children, Youth Membership, Family Membership, and passes are valid for 1 entry each, and memberships are for the entire Kinsman Water Park season. The application is approved if there are no current passes or swimming lessons valid on the personal or family account of the potential membership holder, and the personal or family account of the potential membership holder is in good standing with the City of Prince Albert. Once applications are approved, the city will invoice the organization who will pay for the passes, memberships they were approved for. This follows the community grant policy, where organizations then submit a follow-up with proof of payment, followed by the organization receiving the funding they were approved for. Accessible Swim Program funding is made available from April 1st through March 31st of the current calendar year through funding provided by the Saskatchewan Lotteries Grant Program. The trial will be reviewed after the 2024 Kinsman Water Park season with a report back to City Council from the Community Services Department to determine the trial's success and any opportunity to further apply the program to other recreation and arts programming. Administration did consult with the Saskatchewan Lotteries Trust Fund to confirm that this programming meets the Community Grant Program guidelines, and it does. Other communities such as Swift Current were also consulted with, and they have a similar program, whereas and we consult with them on their administration of the program as well. Should this program be approved, we would work with the communication department to advertise the application process to eligible community groups. And then on a financial implication side, the City of Prince Albert has been approved to receive $164,239 under the 2024 Community Grant Program. A minimum of $5,000 will be available for the Community Grant Accessible Swim Program, with the potential of more being available depending on the adjudication results of the 2024 Community Grant Program application.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mayor Dion?
I'll move the recommendation. I have some comments.
Okay.
I support this because it's funded. It's one of the pool is heavily subsidized by us, and so I wouldn't have supported to put more debt on the taxpayers. But we can get this money through the Lotto Grant Program, so I think it's a great effort, and if it's funding, we'll continue to apply. So I hope we're lucky, and I hope people do utilize it, because I think it's a great idea being funded through the SAS Lottos.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Just a question, Deputy Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you. And I do agree with the mayor here. This is a great benefit to the organizations that struggle. And I guess that's kind of my comment for procedure. Article 7, subsection C, because I think the intentions of the initial letter writer was, to provide us with these passes. And I'm maybe reading too much into it, but the fact that the monies aren't there for them to access that, and not just the one who's writing, but we're opening up to all the organizations within the city. Are we asking them to pay for these passes, and then upon receipt, which we'll get the money back, I guess? So just a little bit of question about 701C.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Head. So that is correct. Actually, the organizations would pay for the passes up front, submit their receipts once they paid for them, and then they would be eligible for that funding back through the grant program.
How long would that turnaround take? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but maybe you have that answer.
Yeah, so actually, in most cases, it doesn't take a long time. It's really dependent on the organization, how quickly they get their invoicing completed and then get the receipts turned into ourselves. Usually, once they're received, the sports and recreation manager would go through the process, make sure that the proper paperwork's filled out and that they're issued a check.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. And just a further clarification, it's because it's from the government that there needs to be a paper trail?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Chair Lennox.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox. Up.
I just wanted to thank the department and the acting director. This is a really creative solution for the request that was made, and I really appreciate the thought that went into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, I'll open the vote. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Councillor Lennox up.
In favor.
Thank you. I'm looking, thank you. And it carries. The next item on our agenda is 7.4, the 2024 municipal election planning. We have a verbal presentation from the city clerk. And we'll just give her a few minutes. And I will, while she's going, I will arm.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, good afternoon, members of council. It's election time again, so I'm here to present the report. So as you're all aware, the civic and in-city school board election is being held on Wednesday, November 13th. Amendments were made to the Local Government Election Act and its regulations effective January 1st of 2024. One of the more significant amendments is that the Act now provides the authority for returning officers, rather than City Council, to determine polling areas and places, in addition to the ability to change and adjust poll hours, dates, and location as required. The returning officer also has additional authority and flexibility to make decisions regarding advance poll, homebound voting, and hospital and personal care facilities. These amendments create more efficiency in pre-planning and in being able to work with each facility to ensure the requirements of conducting a poll in those facilities are met in a timely manner. It also avoids any improper influence or the perception of improper influence by councils or boards regarding these decisions. In order to prepare for conducting the election, the following matters may be considered. City Council can pass a bylaw that requires a criminal record check that is to be submitted with nomination papers, or can pass a bylaw on disclosure requirements for election campaign contributions and expenses. For your information, neither of these options have been approved in the past. Also, Council can establish a voter registry and a voters list. At the December Management Committee meeting, the committee recommended to not proceed with a voters list at this time. There would be quite a bit of administrative work to set up the procedures, create the list, allow for corrections, and collect information at the polls with little return in benefits. I would suggest that this provision be reviewed for future elections on the effectiveness of using a voters list in comparison with voters registering at the polls, as there will be more evidence from other municipalities such as Regina and Saskatoon who are undertaking this initiative for 2024. Council can also make amendments to the election bylaw. One amendment from Management Committee, a recommendation, is to increase the deposit for nominations from $100 to $250. This amount may deter those who are not fully committed and to compensate for administrative time. The election bylaw currently states that only those who are successful in obtaining an elected position would be eligible for a refund for their nomination deposit. And that can be adjusted if you need in the election bylaw. Another amendment in the election bylaw would be to change the nomination day from 5 weeks to 7 weeks prior to the election. This is being recommended by administration due to the ability to be able to properly ensure the accuracy of the ballots, testing equipment, training staff, and other procedures that are completed prior to the start of advance polls. This would also mean that nominations would be submitted earlier than in the past, but allow more time for official candidates to campaign. Since the bylaw election allows for use of electronic vote counting equipment, council would be required to approve the request for proposal relating to the rental of vote counting equipment, which is going to be coming forward at another meeting in March. Council must also set the remuneration to be paid to election officials. The remuneration rates from 2020 to 2024 shows a significant increase in the base wage for all workers, including compensation for training time and meal allowance. Saskatchewan's minimum wage will be $15 an hour as of October 2024, and the proposed 2024 rates reflect an increased wage adjustment. The Management Committee agreed with the proposed remuneration as noted in the report. Council can determine whether to offer free transit on election day, which is again recommended once again. Finally, council must pay the municipality's share of the cost of the election, which for the city would be 50% of the costs, as there are 2 races for the city, one for the mayor and one for councillor. Following discussions today, a further report will be prepared along with any amendments to the election bylaw for consideration, along with the RFP that I mentioned. At this time, I would ask for clarification on what provisions council would like to move forward with, and I can answer your questions regarding the upcoming election.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Chair Lennox up.
Okay, I will put you in the queue. Councillor Lennox up. Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, I'll move the recommendation. And so what else do you need from us today? I don't support criminal record check. I don't support the 7 weeks. I don't support, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
So any new
So-
I'd add on there?
Yeah.
If we don't add it on, it just stays the same?
Yes, it stays status quo unless you indicate. So the deposit was mentioned at the Management Committee to increase from 100 to 250. So I would need a
I'll add that as
recommendation.
number 2, Madam Clerk. Number 1, it'd be administration. Number 2, that the deposit moved to $250. Okay, keep going, please.
And then the, whether you want to proceed with a voters list or not.
No, that's the only change, so.
Okay,
with
and then
this-
what about then the 5 weeks to 7 weeks? You're not
No.
agreeing to that?
No,
And the compensation?
yeah, but more time for the vote to swing, too.
Excuse me?
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Can we,
At this point, I'll wait to hear from other members.
thank you very much. Is there
If I could-
anything else? I will add you, Councillor Head, to the queue. Councillor Lennox up.
Thank you. I move an amendment
Go ahead.
that this report include disclosure requirements. That this report include disclosure requirements of campaign contributions and expenses. Contributions and expenses, and implement campaign spending limits.
Okay. That's an amendment. Is that a friendly? No. Thank you. It is a separate one. Thank you. Okay, so we will have a discussion based on this amendment. Is there any discussion based on this amendment? Is your, for this amendment? Yes. Okay, Councillor Head, you are not on the amendment. You were next on my agenda. Okay, I will move to discussion on the amendment. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I'm going to speak against the amendment, and for the reasons of, I understand that other cities have implemented something like this, and I just feel like it's a very small community, and if, let's say a specific individual or a business does support either a mayor or a councillor and gives a donation, and it's public, it could negatively impact that business. it could. Others might see, oh, you're supporting this person, I'm not entering that business again, and I don't like that. It's too small of community to make that negative upon anybody that wants to contribute. And some get contributions, some don't. I've been told that, hey, you know what, there's contributions available, but absolutely no word or not going to help out in any way. And this is from past councillors that I've heard that from, and I understand that. And that's why I'm not going to support it. It's something that people do want to sometimes help out. They don't want their name involved, but they won't help out. And sometimes help is needed in order to move forward. And so I'm not going to support for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, I'd like to know who's going to put a cap on the spending limits. Like, I don't know where that's going to come from. Like, who's going to determine how much I can spend on an election? Like, I don't understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would
Just
that be
question to the city clerk?
office?
Yeah.
Go ahead, city clerk.
It would be the bylaw. So the bylaw would basically be city council would decide what the limits would be on the election expenses.
And how would you determine how much?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would, if you were going this way, I would take, other cities have done this as an example. So, you know, it would be bringing something similar forward. So, you know, depending on what City of Saskatoon's limit is, Prince Albert could, you know, review that, you know, that threshold.
So this would be a bylaw then? So City of
This would be-
Saskatoon would have a bylaw
They have a
in place
bylaw,
right
yep,
now?
they
Okay.
have a bylaw.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll just look that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions in regard to the amendment?
Tara Lennox up to close.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox up.
Thank you. So the reason that many cities implement these disclosure requirements and also spending limits is to make our elections more transparent to the public. And if there are people who want to donate to someone who's running for office, but they don't want others to know that they donated, perhaps then we shouldn't be taking money from those sources, which is exactly the case in other major cities like Saskatoon, Regina, etc. That you are required to by law disclose who you are receiving funds from for all campaign expenses. And to Councillor Miller's point, yeah, that's a good point about spending limits. If this amendment passed, then the administration is already intending to prepare a further report on this, and then the item of spending limits would be within that report, and then this body of council would vote yes or no at that stage if we wanted to pursue that spending limit. So these are all, you know, items that other major cities do have in order to maintain transparency and fairness in the election process.
Thank you. Mayor Dion.
I am getting so tired of being compared to Saskatoon. 260,000 people. We have less than 40. They have reasons for it. I think if we were to adopt theirs, I think their councilor's spending limit for council in the election, 60,000. Whew, I wish. You know, so sometimes we have to keep things in perspective. If we're going to compare ourselves, we have to compare ourselves with somebody our size. We're just a little community. Everyone sounds like we have big corporations that are going to write us $50,000 checks and, you know, and bring suitcases in. You know, that's not our case. We're a very small internet community, and I want to keep it that way. And, you know, even the Maws and Paws, you know, when they give you their $100 or $50, they ask because, you know, they don't want people to know how they vote. So if you're giving a candidate $100, I'm quite sure you're voting for them. So I just think this is not necessary at this point, and so I will not be supporting it.
Thank you. Any others? Hearing none, we are now voting on the amendment itself, just the amendment. I have to find it. Just 1 second. just going to go back. Just one moment, please. It's all right. Okay, one moment, please, everyone. Oh. Oh, sorry. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Something new. The vote is now open. Councillor Head?
On the amendment, opposed.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox Zapp?
In favor.
Oh. Okay, and the vote does not carry. Okay, next is back to the original motion on the floor.
Deputy Mayor? Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Head.
Thank you. Just procedurally, I'm not seeing the outcome of the votes on my screen, so I don't know if that's not being shared this time around, but it would be great to see that as well. But on the original motion, I know the Management Committee had met and made a few additional changes. I'm not opposed to those changes as well, so I'm in favor of this motion as it stands today. But I guess more so a comment to the returning officer, whoever that may be. If we have a snowstorm, a blizzard that day, can we ensure that we cancel the election, or not, sorry, reschedule the election? Because other cities, and I'm not going to name the two that we're always comparing to, but other cities similar sizes around the province were canceling the election in order for people to participate fully. Just a comment to the returning officer.
To our city clerk?
To the returning officer, that may be, yeah.
Sorry, I'm have to get you to repeat that. I was paying attention to that.
Wondering if there's a snowstorm?
Oh.
If there is a snowstorm, if our city would cancel.
Can we ensure that we have, a closer look at it, and because other cities last election were canceling, and I got a lot of calls from people saying that they weren't able to participate that day due to the blizzard that we had.
There is some provisions in the act to allow for emergencies now. So rather than waiting for the government to call down an order, each city can make that call. We couldn't before because that was not in legislation. That has been changed to reflect emergencies.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Dion.
I would just like to add one more to my motion before we vote on it. After reconsidering and looking at the information, I'll move number 3, that we move to 7 weeks instead of 5. That gives the city clerk all the time that they would need to get everything in preparation to make sure that the election runs smooth.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And you've noted some changes in compensation that you would like, but we haven't made a motion to adjust those. And I think we need, that's for the workers, correct? Maybe clarify that a little bit for us.
The chart that's listed in the report, chart that shows the 2024 proposed rates will be, this will be included in the report that's going to go forward to City Council if you all agree that the position, so for an SDRO, the base wage was $20.50 with a meal allowance for lunch and supper of $41. Training session, typically our SDROs have 2 training sessions, but either way, the session is $40 a session. So an overall cost based on 12 hours for an SDRO is $367. And same, deputy returning officer is like $17.50 an hour plus all of those things.
I agree with the changes.
So you're
and
asking the
the
mover to add
increases. So
that?
do we need that, or did you say you're bringing that back
I'm
regardless of
bringing
what
it
we say?
back because you'll need to make a formal motion in council meeting. This is.
So you do not require
I
it in
don't
this
require
motion?
even the deposit or that, as long as I know, because I will be putting it forward so that you have a formal approval. These, I don't need them, but we can certainly add it, but these two, the deposit and the nomination day, have to be included
not
in an election bylaw. So and the other remuneration is a set alone motion of council. So this is just could come forward in March.
So that discussion would be from number 11, correct? That were, yeah, ballots. Right, oh no, number 12. So you're bringing that, I would support that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'll bring that entire chart basically to as
Okay.
part of the motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions? Seeing no,
Tara Lennox, please.
go ahead, Councillor Lennox up.
This is a question for the mover. Why return the $250 to successful candidates? Why not just keep the funds from all candidates, especially since we're talking about increasing the fund because there is an administrative cost to conducting the election?
Go ahead, Mayor Dion.
No, I'm just going to leave it the way it is because that's the way it is in the past. All we're changing is the fee. I'm not changing any of the regulations or anything else. I'm just changing the fee to $250. Whether you get it back or not, that's not my concern at this point. I believe that it's fair.
A question for the city clerk.
Just one
Is
moment,
that-
please.
Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Lennox up.
Question for the city clerk. Can I just confirm, is that the case from last election as well, that those fees were returned to the successfully elected, and those fees were kept by the city from the non-successfully elected?
That's correct. They were retained for anyone who did not get a seat, and then they were provided back to all those who were successful. Yep. And that's written into the bylaw. Sorry, that's written in the bylaw.
In the bylaw.
Yeah.
And question for city clerk, I would think that's not a requirement in the city's act to do that, something in our own bylaw. Does that sound right?
That's right. It's up to city council to determine rules on the deposit.
Okay. Just last comment is maybe that's something we can talk some more about once we get the further report back. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. The vote is now open. Councillor Head?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In favor.
Councillor Lennox up?
Opposed.
Thank you. It carries. Thank you. There is no, we're moving on the agenda. There is no unfinished business. And finally, adjournment. Mayor Dion.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned. We will return at 20 to 6, please.